Hey guys, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles! In the last episode we finally finished the trial. We proved Ginny not guilty and, well, we had a little bit of a roller coaster of emotions. But now we're here and let's just have a go at the end of the trial and the aftermath. It's the 17th April, 5:24 p.m. at the Old Bailey at the defendant's antechamber. It's done. It's over at last. But where's Iris disappeared to? Ah! Congratulations, Gina! I knew it all along. I knew that you were innocent.
Well, you did what you said, Mr. Nara-Odo. You believed in me right up to the end. You're as odd as your name.
What's odd about it? I told you I had faith in you, didn't I?
No one ever has before, see? Kept a promise, properly.
That's awful.
I figured something out today. All my life, grown up in the slums, I've never trusted no one. But that's just 'cause I've been scared of being stabbed in the back. The more you trust someone, the more it hurts when they let you down.
That's true. That is absolutely true. Yes, I think I can understand that. After all, I had a taste of it in that trial 2 months ago. I chose to trust someone and paid for it. That betrayal left a big scar. You know though, Gina, I worked something out quite recently too. Trusting someone else is really an exercise in learning to trust yourself. And when your gut tells you it's the right thing to do, and your trust is rewarded, there's no better feeling in the world. I think I have you to thank for reminding me of that valuable lesson.
Oh, well, if you say so. Don't make a fat lot of sense to me, though.
I'm trying to say that putting my faith in you, Gina, has been a real pleasure.
For crying out loud, pack it in. But I suppose I sort of feel the same way. Sometimes trusting someone else is, alright.
Thanks. This is the way I see it, Chronicles. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. After this experience, I'm starting to feel like I understand what you mean. Kazuma, am I living up to your expectations? Am I turning out to be the lawyer you believed I could be?
Pardon the interruption. But what the deuce does a man have to do to be noticed around here, my dear fellow?
That voice!
It's too late for that voice now, Mr. Naruhodo. I've been standing here patiently in the corner of the room for an eternity. Ah ha ha, yes, it was me all along. I would have said when finally you noticed me. But you people with your incessant babbling. Oh, Mrs. Sholmes. Oh, yes, it was me all along, you see.
I'd assumed you'd be taken back to the hospital, to be honest.
Indeed I was, but I managed to escape again.
Oh.
I happened to be aware of one or two foibles of the doctor who was tending me to. I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily issued me with a leave of absence.
How very above board.
But enough of my adventures. That was a fine victory, Mr. Naruhodo. Your tireless efforts just rewarded, I feel. Congratulations are in order. As a close friend, I tip my hat at you.
Oh, thank you.
Some great detective you are. Great at being cold as ice, maybe. Have I irked you in some way, Miss Lestrade?
Why, you've been having a snooze in your nice soft bed. Some of us have been fighting for lives.
Ah, well, that bullet did cause me to lose a substantial amount of blood, it's true. So I've indeed been feeling somewhat cold. Not perhaps as cold as ice, but, well, have a feel.
Could you take your hands off my neck, please, Mr. Shawns?
And in some way, I suppose, congratulations are in order for you too, Miss Lestrade.
What's that supposed to mean? Why so half-hearted?
Well, naturally, it isn't my intention to alarm you, but an acquittal in a trial with that particular prosecutor is perhaps a little precarious.
Well done, Mr. Shawns. Not alarming in the slightest.
The Reaper, you mean? Because anyone who's found not guilty in the trial he was working on winds up dead anyway, is that it?
The very point I was trying to make. As exemplified by the fate of Mr. McGilded, in fact. Ah, but of course, I pay no attention to such irrational drivel myself.
Yeah, well, it don't bother me.
Oh, really?
Of course not. The way I see it, the Reaper's a bit like I'm upstairs.
Him upstairs? You mean like God?
Yeah, I'm upstairs now is what's word, right? He knows what people are like on the inside. You won't have got the wrong end on the stick. There's some curves like that bog trotter what are rotten on the core. At the end of the day, I'm upstairs make sure they get what they deserve.
I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Divine justice is one thing, though. The Reaper taking matters into his own hands and claiming lives is another.
Well, I ain't like that McGillet's all this world, so I ain't scared. I got principles, see?
A trait in you which is to be admired, Miss Lestrade.
Oi, just give a rest, alright?
As I was saying, congratulations are in order. The news of your acquittal was very welcome news to me indeed. Let me express my heartfelt congratulations, Gina.
Well,
There you are, Hurley! How long have you been here? Honestly, I went to the main entrance especially to meet you there.
Ah, Iris, my dear, I do apologize. But wait until I tell you what happened. This pair made utter fools of themselves.
What happened?
As you know, I have a penchant for disguise. I was hiding in this room dressed as a bailiff. But these dolts didn't notice my presence at all. They had no idea. Can you imagine, Iris? Would you credit it?
I'm not sure, really.
I beg your pardon?
I'm sorry, Hurley, but you just don't have the weighty presence you seem to think you have. In fact, you really ought to be careful about that. It's going to land you in trouble one day.
I'll be careful.
Ouch.
Anyway, it's such a shame. I was so hoping to throw a party for Ginny tonight. But you won't be able to come, will you?
don't look like I'm gonna be going nowhere for a while. You heard the judge's patter. I got stuff to make amends for, apparently. All them offenses. What was it again? Breaking and entering, taking the Boktrutter's stuff, what was in lug, blah blah blah.
Yes, I think you'll find that basically being a pickpocket is the main offense.
But diving ain't an offense. It's a job, innit?
I don't think so.
Still, it has got me thinking all this. Maybe I should start looking for another line of work. I mean, you didn't start off as a lawyer, did you, Otto?
Well, no, but I was never a pickpocket.
Well, anyway, I reckon I could make a change. I'm gonna do something for all them lot like me from the slums. Something that makes a difference for him.
That's a wonderful idea, Ginny, and I'm sure you can do it. What is it?
Nothing.
Miss Gina Lestrade. The prison carriage has arrived, ma'am. Come with me to the rear gate at once.
Right. Well, looks like I'm off then.
Yes. Goodbye, Gina. And good luck.
Odo.
Yes? Ah! What was that for?
I, dunno, I mean, I don't know what to say, so...
Ah, indeed. Perhaps the situation calls for a phrase hitherto missing from your vocabulary, Miss Lestrade.
Huh?
On occasions such as this, I would recommend a simple thank you.
Oh yes, it's good advice, Ginny.
Right, I see. Well... Thanks, Odo.
You're welcome, Ginny. It's fine.
Thank you for everything what you've done, for believing in me.
Not at all. In fact, that should be my line. Thank you, Gina. Well, there she goes. I wonder if I'll ever see her again.
Well, quite the indomitable pig purse.
Oh, I nearly forgot. I bought a paper outside. It's a special edition and the Striders all over the front page. Pickpocket said it's improving. Isn't it wonderful?
You should have shown it to Gina, Iris. She would have been thrilled.
Oh no, how silly of me. Ah, but anyway, would you like the good news or the bad news?
Not again.
Well, what do you say, Runo? Hurley?
As usual, I think I'd rather get the bad news out of the way first.
Absolutely not. I have no intention of listening to anything but good news.
And there you have it. How people answer the question says a lot about them, doesn't it?
Let's not go there.
Alright then, maybe let's start with the good news this time. The rain has finally stopped. It was a record level of rainfall apparently.
Well, that is good news indeed. We can journey back in the greater comfort.
Alright then, what's the bad news?
The huge storm has left the seas very choppy. The channel in particular is awful, so sailing out of Dover have been delayed by a day or more.
Wait, Dover?
That's right, and we had to the station immediately. We may still make it in time to wave Susie off.
But there won't be a train, surely? We couldn't be that lucky.
Who do you think I am, Mr. Naruhodo?
Mr. Chance?
I rushed to the Victoria Station earlier and made arrangements for a special express. If we hurry now, we shall be there in time for dinner. And I know of a fine restaurant that serves the most delicious bacon, so...
I don't... The great detective does it again!
Indeed he does. I happen to be aware of a number of the rail transport director's foibles.
What?
I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily laid on the locomotive. Elementary!
Just an idea, but it might be wise to stop manipulating people that way.
What are we waiting for then? To London, Victoria!
18th April, 5:32 a.m., Port of Dover, Quayside.
That took somewhat longer than I had anticipated.
Susie's boat must be about to leave now. Mr. Sato, where are you? Over there, look! It looked like she's reading something.
Hold it! Mr. Sato, wait! What are you doing?
Mr. Naruto? What are you doing here?
We came as soon as we could after the trial. I mean, we heard that sailings were being delayed due to the bad weather, you see.
Oh, I see. Then tell me, how did Gina's trial go?
It went well. She was acquitted.
That's wonderful. Really wonderful news.
The book you were about to throw into the sea. It was your encyclopedia of British law, wasn't it?
Oh dear, I was hoping you hadn't seen that. I'm not worthy of practicing law in any way now, so I was saying my final farewell.
You were saying goodbye to law. You, Susato-san.
Would I be correct in assuming it's because of the peephole, Mr. Sato?
I deliberately altered the scene of a crime and then I tried to hide the fact. What I did is utterly unforgivable. That reminds me. How did you even come to have this, Susie? On the evening of the incident, Mr. Shawns had invited Gina to dinner, if you remember. Oh yes, we had a wonderful time. Well, Gina gave us a little introductory lesson, didn't she? To the art of pickpocketing, I mean. Oh, that was so much fun! I stole Runo's armband!
Yes, please don't do that again, Iris. That band's very important to me.
Well, if it's so important, you should pay more attention to it. You didn't notice for ages. On a whim, I thought it would be fun to see if I could take the cat flapper mat. So I put it up my sleeve. Really? And then I rather forgot about it, until I found myself in Mr. Windybank's shop with it later that night.
I see.
And then... Oh! Mr. Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes!
Leave me, Mr. Naruto.
Right!
After Mr. Naruto left the shop, I started to think that door started to play on my mind.
The storeroom door, you mean?
Yes, if Gina was anywhere in the shop, I realized it could only be behind the door. And at that moment, the little device that I had up my sleeve sprang to mind. I was so worried about Gina, I simply had to know.
So, you used the cat flapper mat to make the peephole in the door?
As captured in a photographic print of the shop. By one of Hurley's red-handed recorders.
Indeed, it was of the first importance, that point. Priceless. Precisely when the peephole was made, that information would prove to be Mr. Naruto's greatest weapon. Though naturally without proof, it would have amounted to nothing.
But when I looked through the hole in the door, the sight that met my eyes made my blood run cold. Thoughts started to run through my mind.
Sorry guys, I have to take a sip.
I remembered the trial 2 months earlier.
The trial of Magnus McGilded.
I thought about how he had manipulated the evidence and arranged false testimony to secure his freedom. It made the British justice system feel very dark and sinister to me. And then, a terrible thought occurred to me. What if some wicked criminal was planning to do the same thing now? Because from the appearance of the crime scene, it looked exactly as though Gina had shot Mr. Windybank. Even though I was sure she would never have done such a thing.
You were worried that the true culprit would try to frame her for the crime.
That's right. But then I realized it would be very difficult for anyone to give false testimony in this case.
What do you mean?
Well, the crime appeared to have happened behind the door of a locked room. For someone to claim falsely to have witnessed it, there would have to be a way to see beyond the door.
Ah. For which, the people would be the very thing.
Only the people I had made was actually there until after the crime had been committed, of course. And the criminal would know that, so it wouldn't make any difference.
But the possibility of a rather ingenious trap was there, was it not?
A trap? Is that why she did it?
So is that why you kept it a secret, Susie? You never mentioned that you made the peephole to anyone, not even to the police. I know, and I knew at the time what I was doing was wrong. A criminal offense even. That's why I decided to confide in Mr. Sholmes. If Mr. Naruto was completely backed into a corner, with no other possible means of escape, the truth about the peephole could save him. That was my plan.
She really does think of everything. But then, why didn't you just tell me everything before the trial began?
My dear fellow, you're not thinking straight. If she had done that, it would have rendered you complicit in the whole escapade. You could have been disbarred if you had been seen to have knowingly tampered with the crime scene. So Mr. Sato decided to shoulder the burden of responsibility alone. For your sake, and Miss Lestrade.
Mr. Sato.
The truth is, when it happened, I did it because I'd lost a little of my faith in the law.
Oh.
I was worried that the right person wouldn't be convicted of the crime. But the moment I allowed myself to think that is the moment I lost my right to call myself a judicial assistant.
What you did isn't comparable to what he did. Graydon is the one who lied in the witness stand, using that peephole as a way to implicate Gina. And besides, if the people inconsistency hadn't existed, I'm not at all sure that you would have been acquitted in the end. Mr. Sato, what you did saved Gina's life.
Well, with your kind words, Mr. Naruhodo, you've saved me too from my regrets.
Well, we must be all thankful that Miss Lestrade's freedom has been assured.
Yes, exactly.
Although
some of the loose ends in that trial will continue to play on my mind, I'm sure.
But the revelation that the music box disc contained secret messages, Mr. Naruhodo. What a triumph to work that out. I'm full of admiration.
Well, actually, that argument was quite as compelling as I thought it was.
Oh, it wasn't?
There was a communications officer among the jury members, you see, a telegraph operator. And she said that the majority of the sounds on the disc were just meaningless tones.
As one would expect, after all, we are talking about secret government communications. No doubt they were written in cipher to avoid being readily understood should they have been intercepted.
In cipher? I see. So then, we could never have hoped to understand the message anyway.
Nonsense, my dear fellow. It's quite a zero-pi problem, I assure you.
Well, that can't be a real word, can it? How funny. Wait, Iris, what did you just say? Oh, I just said Asugi. Does that word mean something to you?
Mean something? Asogi was the name of my best friend.
What? But how? How did you know that name, Iris? I wrote it down during the try before when the message was playing on the music box.
She's transcribed it on the fly? She really is a genius.
I thought the message probably wouldn't be written out in plain Morse code, so I tried various ways to interpret it. But whatever I tried, the words just didn't seem to make any sense. That is, in English at least. Oh. It suddenly occurred to me, you see. There's more than one Morse code, not just in the English variety. Various countries around the world have altered and added to Morse code to use it in their own languages.
I don't believe it. I say...
That's right, I've only actually seen a chart of Japanese Morse code once before. But I think it's based on the Iroha pangram, isn't it?
And you mean to say that in Japanese Morse code the message says Asogi?
Yes, I think so. Sorry, but I don't remember all of the Japanese Morse code. Iris, would you let me see that?
Miss Susato, do you know it? Do you know Japanese Morse code?
Yes, I spent some time studying it. Because I'm quite sure Morse code will become ever more important for international communications.
Then might I recommend, my dear madam, that you focus your efforts on the English words, eh?
Be that as it may, Iris, show me the message, please. Of course. But what can this possibly mean?
Whatever is in that long sequence of supposedly meaningless dots and dashes, it's made the color drain from Susato-san's face.
There's no doubt that this message is written in Japanese Morse code.
So the British Empire has been using Japanese for its secret communications.
I don't understand the reason why, but the message appears to be a list of 4 people's names.
4 names?
The first is Kei Asogi.
Kazuma Asogi. Why? Why was his name on that disc?
The second is A Shin.
Shin? I don't recognize that name.
The third is T Guregu-son. Guregu-son.
Gregson?
It would seem Tobias Gregson is the 3rd man on the list.
And what's his name doing in the secret government communication as well?
And the last name?
What's the matter, Miss Susato?
It's just so strange, so unexpected. Oh, what is it, Susie? Don't keep us in suspense. The last name is J. Wilson. What?
Wilson?
John H. Wilson? You mean Daddy? It says only J. Wilson, so I'm afraid I can't be sure. Then, after the 4 names, it reads, if I translate from Japanese, that is all 4. And that's the end of the message. Or rather, the end of what you noted down, Iris.
I just can't believe it. Who would ever have thought that those discs contained Japanese Morse code? Not to mention a strange list of some disturbingly familiar names.
It would appear that this particular message is a communication of some kind between Great Britain and the Empire of Japan.
So, Daddy could be in Japan then, where Susie and Rudy come from. Oh, well... no, it's not very likely really, is it? I mean, there are thousands of people with the surname Wilson, and there must be lots of J's among them.
Professor John H. Wilson, visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Humane University. But we can't tell Iris about that now. We just can't. This is so strange. Somehow, in solving the case of Mr. Windybank's murder today, I feel like I've rolled back a boulder at the mouth of a very dark cave.
I do wonder if perhaps...
Sorry, guys.
if perhaps it's a dark cave that we shouldn't go wandering inside. Oh dear, the ship is going to set sail soon.
Yes, it seems so.
I'll sail on that steamship first to the port of Dunkirk in France. Then I'll change into a larger passenger vessel bound for Japan. You're really going then, Susie?
We wish you a safe passage, Miss Susato.
Thank you so much. I wish all of you the very best.
Mr. Sato, I had hoped to have you always at my side, to guide me and support me.
Mr. Naruhodo,
Please, come back soon. As far as I'm concerned, you really are the very best judicial assistant in the world.
I'm quite sure I'll be back before you know it. Really, Susie? Oh, no, don't forget, Iris. I made you a promise I've yet to fulfill. A promise? About your manuscript. Oh,
Oh yes, the Hound of the Baskervilles.
well, I'll be waiting for you then, Susie. A promise is a promise. Definitely, Iris. Mr. Naruto,
Yes?
do you remember the first time we met?
Yes, of course. On the SS Borea when I was dragged out from that wardrobe still half asleep. No, that wasn't the first time. Dude, I'm sorry. That wasn't the first time, Ryunosuke. If I remember rightly, you threw me halfway across the cabin with a Susato takedown.
You know very well that I'm talking about after that. It's strange, but being thrown together as we were in that case, I somehow felt straight away that you were the perfect person to continue Kazuma-sama's great legacy.
Mr. Sato,
And my instincts were right. I really want to believe. No, I'm sure that. I'll be back soon. Farewell until then.
but we met at the very first case.
Somehow we seem to have come to the end of the adventures of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Or the first volume, at least. Looking back now, it feels as though fate has led me on this journey. Fate led me to becoming a lawyer, to traveling halfway around the world, to meeting the great detective. I'm sure there'll be trials and tribulations ahead. Of course there will. But whatever happens, I know I'll be able to turn my fortunes around. After all, I have the greatest friends in the world on my side.
Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, Mr. Short?
I have some rather awkward news. The railway company has decided to sue over the special express train, apparently.
Huh?
It caused such a commotion on the line. All the other trains had to wait at stations.
But really, we would never have made it to Doha in time otherwise. Anyway, I explained everything and how it was all your fault.
Huh?
I believe a formal complaint should be delivered to your office tomorrow. But not to worry, my dear fellow. According to Mr. Sato...
You love defending yourself in court. It's alright, I'm perfectly happy to testify. He really didn't look like the sort of man who'd do something so outrageous. See?
Mr. Sholmes?
Yes?
A word, if you don't mind.
Why, certainly. Any word you like. Blow it out, my dear fellow.
Oh yes, I love Runo's words. And I know just the one he'll use here.
Then, I really must say...
Objection!
Well guys, we finally did it. We finished Adventures, the first game of the Chronicles series. So, what to say about the game? I have to say, I think that it's a good Ace Attorney game for sure. Although I have to say, I don't think there is a bad one. I know that there are a lot of people out there that don't like Dual Destinies, for example, but actually Dual Destinies is one of my favorites. I think it's a very strong game just because of Simon Blackquill, who is my favorite prosecutor. I like him even more than Miles Edgeworth. So I'm sorry if I offended anybody right now, but Simon is just the best prosecutor in the whole series, I think. But what about this game? Well, there were times where the story dragged on a little bit, and well, how do I put it? It was very Japanese. Japanese games and novels and movies and series and anime and whatever you want to call it do have a tendency to be slow, and this game is in some parts very slow. But I don't think that's actually a disadvantage, because it was very intense, therefore, with all the information you gather. So I quite like that. Which was the case I liked the most? I think that the third case, which was the Natsume case, Soseki Natsume case, was my favorite one, and I liked that the most. And I'm a little bit... there we go, there's Hosonaga-san. And I actually expected him to appear in some later... there's Soseki-san. And I expected Hosonaga-san to make an appearance at some point later on, but he didn't. That's a little bit of a problem. If you don't know, this guy is actually a real figure in Japan. He is one of the most influential writers of all time in Japan, Soseki Natsume, so there is actually a little bit of a story behind him. But I think that the game, it's not the best Ace Attorney game. I don't think that it's the best Ace Attorney game, but I don't think that it's a bad one either. I think it's very well in line with the whole series and quite well done. So there's not that much left to say, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what I do, leave a like or a subscription maybe, even if you want to. And that's it for the first part of Adventures. Of course I'm going to play the second part, which is... I don't even know what it's called, but I'm going to play it, and this playlist is going to go on with the second game in Chronicles, and I'm really eager to play it, so it won't be for long that you have to wait or anything. I'll upload the very first part of that in a very short amount of time. So thanks so much for watching again, and see you then.